Hey guys, welcome back to Keeping It Entrepreneurial. We're dedicated to providing value and supporting your growth as an entrepreneur. Dropping live on Valentine's Day, we are gifting you with this bonus episode. If you've thought about working with your significant other, need advice on how others do it successfully, you're going to love this discussion. This episode, we welcome super couple Adam and Dana Roach as we discuss working together as entrepreneurs and introduce the concept of couplepreneurs. We dive into the do's and don'ts, the good, bad, and the ugly. Their expertise spans the realms of real estate, entrepreneurship, and coaching. Let's dive in.
Welcome to Keeping It Entrepreneurial, the podcast where we unravel the tales of launching, scaling, and savoring success with your host, the king of B&B, Heath Green, and the property prince, Josh Shepler. Come along as we share our experience launching and scaling a seven-figure property management business that we built and sold, along with candid conversations with remarkable entrepreneurs who've mastered the art of business and have an unbridled spirit for entrepreneurship. Get ready to ignite your entrepreneurial soul and fuel your passion. This is where we celebrate the hustle, innovation, sacrifice, and struggle of building a life worth living. This is Keeping It Entrepreneurial.
When it's time to talk business, how do you transition into talking business versus like, how's your day? You're like, no, I actually need to have a serious conversation about business with you.
I feel like our relationship is the opposite of that. Like, we talk so much business that we're like, okay, like, wait a minute, we need to have a serious personal conversation.
It's opposite, yeah. 80% business, 20% personal.
Yeah.
So it's an easier flow. But I think if you're asking for advice or advice for entrepreneurs who work together, I think it's that you have to have those boundaries and then they have to be intentional conversations. And to me, that shows up as that you're not beating around the bush and saying, oh, we've got to talk about business. It's no, tonight after dinner, we're talking about business and we've got to get this.
Well, we used to have a system. We used to have a language that we would use. It's called
safe word?
share.
Yeah.
Share. And it was she would simply say, or I'd simply say, hey, I have to have a share with you. And the share would then know, or at least let the other person know that was going to be a serious conversation.
I love that.
And no judgment.
Yeah, and I oftentimes think too, like you have to be aware of how the other person receives things because when you try to throw something off, when you work in business together so much,
Yeah.
and then you just throw this like serious conversation without like making sure that they're in the space to be able to receive that.
Yeah.
Typically, like relationship wise, it does more damage.
I know
than
what
it
you're
does
getting
good
at.
for the...
I function best in the wee hours of the night.
Yep.
And I want to do business plans before bed.
And I function better first thing in the morning.
First thing in the morning. Yeah.
So just knowing
We're the
when to
same.
communicate.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
A little bit. I mean, I've gotten a lot better, but I used to be the night person and he was the morning person.
And now you're
Like, I
in
can't
sync.
have a serious conversation, but now I think as I've gotten older, I can't have that conversation before bed or I won't sleep.
She won't sleep.
So like
It weighs on you.
100%. Yeah, definitely.
Well, the conversations that we have, though, in business, for the most part, are pretty vision-oriented and exciting. And that's, for me, if we talk about that before bed, it does keep me awake because it's exciting stuff.
Yeah.
How do you handle a disagreement?
So we're just pretty direct.
Yeah.
Pretty open, honest, direct. I would say one thing as it relates to our relationship is we have no judgment. Like, I'm not going to judge what you're going to say, and you don't judge always what I say.
Always.
Or like you said a second ago, when she's ready to receive the information.
Sure. Yeah.
And like, do you all understand each other? Do you think you understand when she's ready to receive something, or is that?
No. Is that a joke?
It's just
No.
it's just when she's ready to receive it. Because I think
Actually, we were in the car and you actually said what did you say the other day on the way here? You said, when do you know? Because I said I was getting excited about our upcoming project and you were like, I've been talking about this for a year. So like, when is it that you actually know that you're ready to do something? And I said, I don't know. I just have to feel it. And he was like, what does that even mean? Like, when do you
Do you feel like you've ever lost out on opportunities because you weren't feeling it?
Mm-mm. I don't.
I'm so
Because
much like
he's
that.
so much like that too.
Because if somebody throws an idea at me, if I'm not ready to kind of like digest it and like visualize
Yeah.
it and like get everything, I want to like postpone it because I'm not ready to start visualizing. I don't have like the mental space to like, I want to go all in that moment somebody
Yeah,
tells me. So I'm like,
same.
oh, talk to me about that later.
That's exactly where I did not have the mental space or capacity or physical time at when he started talking about this project to receive it.
So
Because,
it took a year.
yeah, because I mean, there were some things I had to get rid
Yeah.
of. Like I'd, sold out of a business or am in the process of, good Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. Hopefully
Amen.
hopefully that'll still go through. But I think like for me, it's because if I'm going to do it, like I want to do it and I want it to be 110% like great.
And that's when I know that she's ready. Is she will take action
Yeah.
without communicating it first, and then she'll communicate it. A perfect example is the podcast room got done. And I was like, oh, this is nice. She's helping me put together the podcast room for me. And on the drive here, it was, oh, let's go do our new project. I was like, oh, that's why we put together the podcast room.
What is it for you that you need to feel like bought into it? I wonder.
I think,
Or like that process for really, I guess, for like us and our thinking.
Yeah, what is your answer?
That's a great question.
I know my answer. Do you know yours? I have to think. ours are the
Somewhat, but go
same.
ahead.
I feel like ours is the same. Like I need to receive certain signs to like know that it's ready to do it.
That's God.
It's true. Well,
Like I'm literally like, if I'm gonna do this, like, give me somebody.
a sign.
Show me somebody in a pink Barbie suit today. That will give
Not
me
the pink Barbie suit.
That will give me the answer of yes, and like it'll happen, and I'll be like, okay, I'm
well,
ready.
what have you been praying for? I'm here.
I know.
I'm your son. Take the next
But
step.
like literally, I mean, I think I just like to see like, some signs or whatever. And even like for us on our new project, like we just spoke at an event and it was really kind of like the first time, normally I speak alone or he speaks alone. Like it was the first time we've ever actually shared a stage together. And
How did it feel? Like,
it felt great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think we crushed it.
Yeah.
I mean, well, we could have done, you always can do better. Like there are so many things. The first thing Adam did was text Diana and say like, how could we have improved or how can we do better next time? But I think for me, like doing that, I was kind of thinking in my head, whatever the feedback and stuff is, will kind of give me like a sign one way or the other. And the feedback was so positively, like so immensely positive. I mean, like 50 people reaching out to us by the time we even got to the airport, that I was like, okay, this is it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I just think
well, you guys hadn't not done that before. So you probably didn't have an expectation tied to it either, did you?
no,
Of like how you wanted people to respond?
No, not necessarily.
No.
Oh, I think I knew how people would respond, though. I mean, that kind of goes without saying that we can, and just like you guys, very dynamic, very impactful, very value add.
Yeah.
That it doesn't matter whether you're in front of a bunch of entrepreneurs or whether you're in front of when we go serve in the Dominican this coming year. I mean, we're going to have impact. We're gonna provide value. So no, I didn't have any. I knew it was going to be good for her.
Well, because, like if you go speak or you go speak by yourself, you have an expectation tied to her and you're like, I have to do well. Like there's this, oh my gosh, I have validation. But I think when you just enjoy the process, like
Yeah.
it is so much more better received in all of it.
Mm-hmm.
As a couple, what are you guys launching this new venture that you want to
We're supposed to be answering questions.
give
too.
us?
Yeah.
Well, we are, but you're on the spotlight right now. Like you've talked about this, you've hinted around to it. So like, what is this new venture and project you guys? It took you a year to receive.
Go for it. It's your idea.
I think it's our idea together. Well, so what it is the name of it will be Couplepreneurs, right? So we have entrepreneurs, you have entre leadership, you have all these different entre something. And so
Entrepreneurs.
we're going to put the word couple with it. Now, it doesn't mean that they have to be a couple to be a part of the ecosystem that we'll create, though And that can mean different things, whether you're working together, whether
I was going to
you have
say, yeah.
someone at home that you would like to have them support you in more ways than the way they are. That's what it'll be. But it'll be our focus of coming together to bring value to other people through our couplepreneurship.
And there's a lot of like a movement, if you will, post-pandemic of spouses and couples working together.
Yeah, I was totally going to say that. I've seen more people coming together and working together because I don't think people thought about it before.
No, they either wanted to or they made it happen, and so now they are, or they want to, but they haven't made it happen yet. And so they're really trying to figure out what that looks like. And so I think we're just in kind of that movement right now.
Well, you guys have worked together for a long time. If people are in this movement and they are thinking about making the move to work with their significant other or whatever couple that means, what advice would you give to them that you wish you had known going into like working together?
We'll answer that, then you'll answer that, because you guys work more day to day together than we do. I mean, we still have separate businesses. We're just in the same realm of things.
I think it'd be pretty simple, is understanding when work starts and stops, and when it is relationship time, right? So having good boundaries, setting good boundaries, understanding, and also creating great communication, because there's two things you have to have in a relationship, and that's trust and communication.
Yeah.
So in that space, it is knowing when to start and stop.
And I would say too, like, who's responsible for what. And I think that's important even in just your household relationship, like kind of who's responsible for what. Because I think when you have those clear expectations, then you're not trying to like jump over in somebody else's lane, and they're not trying to jump over in your lane, and then you're not like mad because it's not the way that you wanted it to be or whatever.
Fold the laundry.
Yeah.
Was that more of like picking up Frankie's poop?
Hell,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Frankie doesn't do that, does he? Well, because if you look at entrepreneurship and you're doing it by yourself, and then you come home to your significant other,
Right.
they have a different perspective. But then you couple that together and work in that space. That adds so many complexities to it.
Sure.
That I think that there's so many things that you don't even think about that's going to test your relationship.
Right.
And for us in working together, number one, it was establishing the boundaries.
Yeah.
Because that boundary is going to get moved, not because you want it to be moved, but because a team member does something to you that you can't let it go on the way home, that you still have to discuss it when you get home over dinner.
Right.
But for me, in our business, where I launched the business by myself initially, and then the couples got together later on, is understanding where his vision for his life aligns with what I already had in place.
Yeah.
Because feeling that he was just adding on to my vision, I had to understand, and it took a while to understand, that he also may have a different vision.
Yeah.
And I think just not just acknowledging what you think someone else feels or knows.
Well, I think that's a good point too, because most people, I wouldn't say most people, there are people out there with no vision.
Right.
And in helping people create, establish, develop, whether it's a vision together, a vision individually, that's so important. It's really, really important.
And were you gonna say something? Yep. Like the real of working together with an entrepreneur, or like you are both self-employed.
Right.
Yeah. And so there becomes added an additional pressure to like somebody's not getting a paycheck and the other person's out doing with like you both you get up and what you do is how you make money. That's right. And when you both are in that same situation, it's a unique situation until you actually really get to the point that you're like, okay, we're financially in a good place, and then we can. But it's definitely, I think that's why a lot of people don't take that leap to do stuff together when they really want to, because somebody's carrying the insurance or somebody's getting the steady paycheck, and it can be hard to walk away from those things.
And I think you have to weigh the risk.
Yeah, obviously. Absolutely. Yeah.
But it's fascinating because that word risk is relative.
Right.
It really is. I mean, what is risk really? In my world, in our world, the only thing that's risky is time. Right.
Absolutely.
In my opinion, that's the only thing that's risky.
Yeah.
Both of us have lost our fathers, right? And in their 60s of all things, and we're not many years behind that. And it's just like,
Speak
okay,
for yourself.
yeah, I know, right? The only thing that I can think of that is risky is time.
Yeah. It's the one thing you can't buy or get back.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of advice would you give somebody that is where there's one person in the relationship that's owns a business and another person that is not in the business? What kind of advice would you give to that couple?
I would say be a support system, and try to put yourself in their shoes, because I kind of see it from both standpoints of being there before I was in the business, and then to being in the business in a business that I didn't start. They're gonna take things differently than you're gonna take things, but
Perspective.
Yeah.
it's perspective, and you also have to be there. Like in any relationship, you're equal.
Yeah.
And one day that might be harder for them, they can only bring 20% to your personal relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You have to bring the other 80%.
Yeah.
And in your day to day, you might only be able to bring that 20%, and you have to have that open communication to say, like, I need you to show up 80% for me today.
Yeah.
So it's like how you need to show up for each other to make sure that you're supporting each other to move forward.
Yeah.
That's good.
I would say with that too, like still do stuff together. So even if you aren't in the day-to-day together every day, like still do one thing a year or two, or one thing a quarter that you're growing together, because I think so many people grow apart because one is constantly growing, but the other one isn't. And I talk to agents all the time about, there are people in our business all the time about this, because they have a spouse that still has a W-2, job, and they are living this entrepreneurial life, business owner life, and they're attending all these seminars and they're going to all these events, and it's sad, but they are outgrowing their partner.
That's right.
And so I think you still have to commit to at least, at minimum one thing a year that you can go to and do together, so that you might be on two different wavelengths when it comes to like your, everyday job life, but you're still growing together. Like Chris and Caitlin are a great example of that, because Chris is, corporate running all the Lowe's world, and Caitlin is doing her own thing, with the shop and with the marketing for the one team. But like, I love that they do the summit together every year, and I know that they will, and they intend to do more things. They're just also living the toddler, baby life right now, but they are in two separate work worlds. But when you do but them learning together and setting goals together and doing their vision boards together, I'm like just so proud of them for doing that, because so many couples don't do that. Like one would go about their way and the other would go about their way, and they would never mix those two together.
Well, that comes with intentionality.
Absolutely.
Right. And whether it's a W-2 and an entrepreneur coming together or being together, there has to be intentionality.
Yeah.
There has to be planning. There has to be really sit down, organizing, understanding where that intentionality lives. And I would probably venture to say that the majority of the world that's out there do not do that.
Yeah.
Right. They don't have that intentionality when it comes to growth planning.
Or the conversation of what the vision for their life looks
For their
like.
family.
Right, yeah.
Because they're scared to have that conversation, because what if that person says
Yeah.
something opposite of what they want?
Mhm.
Well, and you were talking about support. I think it goes both ways, because you might have somebody listening that is the entrepreneur, and then you have the wife or husband at home that's like, you know what, I'm going to be the W-2.
Yeah.
It's not just supporting the entrepreneur. It's also an understanding and supporting the person who's not the entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think sometimes the entrepreneur gets the heavy lift of that I need more supporting because I'm the dreamer, I'm the visionary. But the person who doesn't have that vision also needs the support, because if you're not supporting them, there's no way they can support you.
Yeah.
Well, I think they're again, there's different levels of entrepreneurs, right? We have small business owners, we have big business owners, we have investors, and it just depends on, again, what is pulling that entrepreneur's time away. If you got a small business owner that has to open the shop at 7 a.m. and closes at 8 p.m. and they're home for 4 or 5 hours a day, there has to be some boundaries set. There's got to be intentionality set. There's got to be all kinds of things in place to support that type of lifestyle.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get it right all the time.
No.
There really is no right.
And I think because there's this, again, expectation that the couple has to come home. They have to be there at 5 o'clock, have dinner together.
Yeah.
If you're building a big life, and this is just my opinion, there isn't one way to do that.
No.
And you can be not present for a couple years while you're building a big life. I think, but both people have to be understanding, because a big life and abundant life comes with sacrifices.
Sure.
And that is going to be your family. That is going to be your time. But on the other side of that, there's so many rewards, but I think it comes with an understanding. One person can't be the driver and the other person sitting there having dinner alone every single night.
Yep.
I was going to say the opposite is that even if you do work together or you're talking about business together, that's not spending time together.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we learned and still continue to work on. Is just because we might see each other in the office all day or work together all day or come home and still work on things, like you have to be intentional and plan on like the time that's separate from the business.
Yes.
Well, connecting time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and Gary Keller always says you're always sacrificing something.
Yep.
So you just have to know what you're sacrificing in the season that you're in and be okay with that and communicate that and have that, be a part of your family talk or, plan or whatever it is with your couple, with your partner, because sometimes you're going to be sacrificing time. Sometimes you're going to be sacrificing money that you could be making, but you're spending more time. We just had this conversation and we shared this from stage, but right now we are sacrificing investing more than not investing as how would you say that? We're sacrificing investing as much as we would want to, like we are investing, but we would love to be investing more right now because we're in a season where Adam's kids are our kids are playing hopeful to play professional tennis, and we're spending almost 6 figures a year on their tennis. And so that's a season, that I said to Adam, like because we were kind of beating ourselves up for a minute because we were like, man,
Where are you investing differently?
yes,
Right?
yeah, because we were like, man, we were, hoping we would have more rentals than what we have right now. And then we were like, well, wait a minute. When we were figuring up what we spent on our personal growth last year, we were also figuring up what we spent on tennis, and it's an astronomical number. And we were like, okay, but you know what? Like that's a season right now. And so we're sacrificing other things because we're doing that, when that season is over in a couple of years, we'll be sacrificing, something different, and that'll be, so it's just like, you're always going to sacrifice something, but you just have to be on the same page with it. Like I could be ticked that that's where that money is going, but I mean, clearly I'm not, because I think it's wonderful. But
Sounds like we need to talk about it.
if you weren't on this, or Adam could be, ticked that I just dropped $600 on acupuncture for Frankie yesterday. So there's always a sacrifice. TT has the vids to prove it, but there's always a sacrifice.
His longevity is important here.
His longevity is very important for my sanity.
And mine.
And my sanity is important to Adam's sanity. So it's
And
a ripple
anybody
effect.
in your world.
That's right.
So the moral of the story, couplepreneurs have separate bank accounts. And yes.
No, the moral of the story is know you're always sacrificing something and communicate about it and be on the same page and be in support of that.
And we're not being doom and gloom about it, because honestly, I think it's an amazing thing, because I look like for us in our personal experience, if there's people there that are a couple and they're thinking about going into business together, I would say as long, again, as you have boundaries, but we brought different skill sets in that literally catapulted our business that I could have, if I had done it alone, may have taken me 20 years to do.
What are your 2 or 3 different skill sets?
I was initially the visionary, the checklist person, but I was delaying all of these different things that I needed to implement because I just could not get it together.
Right.
Yeah.
So Heath came along and immediately started implementing.
Yeah.
And what's really funny is that fast forward to today, we've lost sight of how we worked so well together that now we're being very intentional about getting back to, okay, you're the visionary, you're the implementer, because our roles had misaligned a little bit. And we were like, no, get back in your lane, because we're not moving as fast as we need to now.
Yeah.
So I think if you're going to go into business together, it can be an amazing thing to work with your partner, because you can build something faster because you know them. You can work together all day long, but
you can trust them.
And we work together, yes, but may not see each other all day. So just because you're running a business doesn't mean you're beside each other all day.
Yeah.
Plus, like, again, you guys get to travel together. You get to go to all these things together and experience it together. So
Huge
to me, there's probably so many more things that outweigh the bad.
Mm-hmm.
The good, to me,
I mean, you're
outweighs the
experiencing life with the person you want to experience life with more often.
Yeah, which is so cool. It's truly like the best feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you have to, it's just like anybody else. You have to celebrate the small wins as a couple way more.
Yeah.
Because if you're both drivers, you're just going to focus on that gap.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as you're being intentional about, hey, we won today in this,
Yeah.
that can prove to be success for you, in my opinion.
Yeah, we set a goal to have like quarterly kind of date weekends or like, date couple of days this year just to like spend time together. And we want to try to attach them to something where we're learning and then something where we can chill and have downtime too, because I just think it's so important when you're in the grind all the time. I was just sitting here thinking though, we're a little bit unique in that you all are a little bit more opposite when it comes to but we are more similar.
Yep.
And so, but that's kind of cool because you can make it work both ways.
Yeah.
Where you're the visionary and you're the implementer. We are probably both more visionary.
Right.
And implementers on different things.
Yeah.
So,
Well, your attention to detail is much higher than mine, and my level of habit creation is much higher than yours.
Definitely.
You're an implementer, and then, but if not, you go find an implementer quickly.
Implementer quick. Yeah, I so have implementers
you might identify yourself
at every reach.
You might know what you need to implement, but if you can't do it, then you're going to go find somebody to implement it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on that different level, what advice would you all give to two couples that say,
I think you stole Tyler's job.
oh, I'm sorry.
But you're doing great.
Go for it.
Well, I was going to talk about delegation next, but I mean, I'm just figured I'm delegating the question asking over to you.
What else, I don't know, what would you all, in this couple thing, what do you think are the 3 reservations people have about working together?
Probably it's number one, the boundaries, understanding what the boundaries are, understanding, this is an ego one, but who's in charge, right?
Yeah.
If you really think about it, who gets to be the boss? Well, you'll never be the boss, right? And here's a great example of this. And Dana was joking the other day, and I don't remember the context of the conversation, but was it Amelia? Or I can't remember. We were in the car, and something was said about, it was getting a car is what it was. Will he let you get a car? And her answer was, no one's going to let me have to do anything. I can do it if I want to.
You need to change your language around that.
I think that's number one is removing the ego, right? The egos are a big thing. And I mean, I grew up in a very traditional family where there was a man, and the man had a responsibility, and a woman had a responsibility, right? And it was like,
why'd you change your voice?
I know. I don't know.
And it was just, my dad would have never thought about doing the laundry.
Right.
And my mother would have never thought about cutting the grass. Right. And it's just there doesn't have to be a boss.
And that's okay.
It's totally okay.
Yeah.
There doesn't have to be a boss. And it's fascinating that I think that's probably one of the very first things that if there's a couplepreneur is making sure their ego is removed. Totally ego is removed.
Yeah. What would you, do we all think that if they talk to their significant other, would you say that if they identified that thing that they identified would be where they said, okay, we shouldn't go into business together? Do you think there's one thing that if they were like, okay, we can't get over our ego or we can't get over this, that you should say, we probably should not go into business together? You guys think there's...
Definitely there are people that should not work together.
Yeah. I think if you value your relationship and that's the person you want to spend the rest of your life with, and you know that...
Josh just got scared.
No, seriously though, if you truly value a relationship and you see your life with that person, but working together is potentially going to put a strain on you and pull you farther apart than pull you closer together, then I think, or if you're even in business together and you start to feel that and you're communicating and you can't get past that, it's time to reevaluate what that business looks like.
Yeah, I think if you're getting into business together to make the relationship better, you're not going to win. I think you have to have a very strong relationship beforehand, both from a maturity standpoint, from a communication standpoint, a trust standpoint, to be able to stay, as you've been using language, your lane. Right? I can tell Dana something and be really direct with her and know we will still kiss goodnight at night, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Because again, I trust her and we can communicate. Now, if there's an issue, she'll go ahead and say, hey, I didn't like that, and vice versa. Some people that are trying to get into business together that want to make their relationship better probably should have conversations first.
Yeah, and I think like you have to really know and be attached to your future self and to the end game. And like where in 10 years, what do you really want to look like? Like what age will you be? What do you want to have accomplished? Like what do you want your life to look like? And do you and your partner align in those things? Because otherwise working together will just be a colossal disaster. I mean, I think you have to know like this is going to get us to where we want to be in our next 10 years. And the second piece to that is I think you have to financially be in a place where you can.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I still think that that's just such a huge reason why most people don't. So if it's like somebody's going to leave a job for you to work together, like you need to know that, okay, we have savings, we've got, you know, we're in a good financial place to be able to do
Because
that.
it's gonna bring on layers of issues or problems you can't even foresee.
Absolutely. And every time you start something new, you're like an accordion. You're stretched all the way out to where like there's nowhere else to go. And little bit by little bit, you shrink back in as you learn things and you get, you know, more time on task in the role and all of those things. And I think if both people are the accordion stretched all the way out, you better be able to deal with stress very well as a couple because you're both going to be on a 10 24/7. And like we also know about each other, like if Adam is hungry, forget it. If I'm like tired or frustrated about something
Or achy.
or aching, forget
Or it's
it.
the morning.
Yeah, like my list goes on and on.
So there's 2 hours of the day. or need a bath.
Yeah. Actually, talking to me when I'm in the bath is usually a good thing.
It depends if she has a phone in her hand or not.
Is that a hair bath?
No, that's a hair shower.
Hair shower.
No,
Hair
if
shower.
it's a hair shower, forget it.
Okay.
Like if I had a hair shower tonight, we would have wrapped this up like an hour ago. It'd be done. But I really do think like you have to know, you know, those times and things about your partner because it can get treacherous territory quick.
Yes.
Yeah, so many more pros than cons, but yeah.
What external resources, books, or speaking events, or anything that you would recommend that you guys have attended or read that really brought you closer together?
Well, I just want to interject. I think it was really eye-opening at your conference, the I Love Coaching conference, that people brought their significant others that weren't a part of their particular
That was our
business.
first sign for couplepreneurs, by the way. I told Adam that.
So
Not to interrupt you.
2022, we had one couple. 2023, I think there
you
was
find the data?
17 couples. Yeah.
Wow. 'cause
Oh,
we
wow.
We literally just this week, I said, can you see if they can pull how many people brought their spouse? Because when we left that was like my first sign, like we talked about earlier, because I literally said to Adam, look how many people brought their partner this year. Like it was unreal.
Because that's the biggest challenge. Like if we weren't in business together and I went to a conference, coming back and sharing that excitement,
Yeah.
there's no way that they're going to get as excited as you if they didn't experience that. So I think bringing people to that moment, even if they're outside your organization, is paramount.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a book,
One
but
specific,
like, I mean, Dr. Kelly Flanagan helped us a lot with things. Adam had him at one of the summits for I Love Coaching, and then we've done like
We hired him as a coach.
we hired him as a relationship coach.
Yeah. He wrote a book called Lovable.
Yeah, actually, that's a great book resource.
Lovable is really good.
But yeah, he was great for us. I'm trying to think of what else. I mean, honestly, just being around other couples like Linda and Jim have been just, huge mentors to us.
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting though, like the circle of five, like if you kind of look at even all of us, like Caitlin and Chris,
Yes.
us, Linda, and like everybody's
Jen and
couples
Tim.
in
Now.
business together.
Yeah.
Right.
So which is very interesting.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of
Birds of
morph.
a feather.
Yeah.
You morph into
Yeah.
Tyler and Kate.
Yeah. For sure. But I think whether you work together or not, you can still decide like how you show up.
Yeah.
And even though if you work together, you can still be in the driveway and say, okay, I'm going to go inside, but you get to decide in that moment, do I go in there angry or how do I show up to that person?
Yeah.
I think also to the question's point, you're going to continue to grow personally. You have to keep growing yourself And then to our conversations point, bring along your significant other for them to keep growing too.
Yeah.
So, but you have to continue to grow, period.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to share what you've learned.
Yeah.
Even if they're not ready to receive it.
Yeah.
They're listening. Everything is just like kids too. They're listening more than you think.
Right.
They're not ready to receive it at that moment, but it is going to come back around in a full circle.
When he says there, he's talking about me and you.
I understand. I feel targeted, but it's fine.
I'll give you an example. This is really fun. I don't think you need to read the same books together. You maybe don't even have to go to the same events together. One thing that Dana does really well, which was kind of funny, over Christmas break, you were highlighting the book. You were taking notes in the book, and my stepfather asked, "What are you going to do with all that?" And she then takes all that and she types up all of her notes, and she either gives it to people or she does things with it. It puts it on social media. Though I'll read her notes and I will now be able to summarize everything that she just took away from that book. So technically we grew together based on her actions.
Yeah.
So it's funny that you say that because I absolutely despise to read.
Yeah.
I love to learn, but despise to read for whatever reason. So I'm being very intentional this year to read more. I will listen. Yes.
Yeah.
I like podcasts, that kind of thing, but like just sitting there and opening a book and like making myself read is very challenging for me.
Yeah.
But I'm obsessed with learning. But I
Yeah.
will say, like, to your point, Josh loves to read, but he will talk to me.
You get the Cliff Note.
So I get the Cliff Note version
Yeah.
without ever having to pick up the book. And for me, I'm obsessed with it because I'm still learning.
Yeah.
But I don't ever have to read the book.
Well, now you go to ChatGPT and say, summarize this book for me, and it'll be done in 2 seconds.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, there you go.
You guys do goal planning as a couple,
Yeah.
probably like the best ever. Like, what are goals like around that couple should be making for each other? Like, because I think people
Yeah.
are like, I'm going to go make my goals or go make my business goals. What couple goals are important?
Well, I don't know if you can actually set goals until you have a vision. Or I don't even know if you can set a vision until you have values. So setting your values as a family first, then creating the vision around that allows you to then sit down and say, okay, fine, it's 2024. What specifically are we going to accomplish this year that's in alignment with both the vision and the values?
Yeah.
So sitting down and doing that, and we did that years ago, and it actually lives on our phones in our notes as pinned at the top.
And it's framed in our house and stuff in our TV room.
And so every decision that we make is measured against that. Does it align with the vision? Does it align with the values? And do we get to say yes or no to it based on that?
And that's a big one because I would venture to say nobody as a family talks about what they value.
Yeah.
And because if you take a look at your life as a couple and as a family back over the course of a year, you can tell what you valued over the last year. Those are your core values. Those are your values.
And
Yeah.
did you invite the kids in?
Yeah.
The discussion of values?
Yeah, we each picked a value word. Like our first one was faith. Amelia picked kindness. You picked.
I picked fun. Addison picked commitment.
Picked fun, or Addison picked commitment. Yeah, Adam picked fun, and I picked giving.
Yep.
And those are our value words as a family. And so everybody like picked the one that that was the kind of their vibe.
Yeah. And then wrote
then-
a sentence around
and
it.
then wrote a sentence, around
That's so
it.
cool.
And then we used those to really plan out our goals. Like that was how this year we decided that we were actually going to take the kids on a mission trip for the first time. And actually Adam hasn't been, have you or no?
No.
Yeah, Adam hasn't been either. So, but that kind of tied into like us giving and being able to be committed to, serving somebody other than ourselves and have fun while we're there and all those things. But when we do goal plan, like it's fun because now the kids are old enough to, really kind of be a part of it. But a lot of it for us is around time things. Like we put our vacations and like where we want our trips and stuff first in. And then also after that, the growth events, like how many times do we want to see John Maxwell this year? And like, when are we going to commit to do that? Wealth goals, like giving goals, spiritual goals, our business. I mean, all of it really, that whole like wheel of life. And then of course, like we have investment goals, but like Adam has a watch that he really wants on his, and I probably have a car. I mean, there are certain things that we're like, when we hit the goal, like that's something that we want to have.
But it's important, I think, too, like in listening to that as a couple, if you're going to work together, especially entrepreneurship, there's so many decisions that have to be made along the way.
Yeah.
And if you don't have those core values, how do you know what to say yes to and what to say no to? Because those are going to align you and help you make your decision. can we do this based upon what we value?
Yeah.
Yes or no?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
What about you guys? How do you guys plan and set goals?
So I will say in the beginning of our business relationship, which also was the beginning of our personal relationship, we were very intentional with planning and had our sights set on what we were going to do as a couple and as a business relationship.
Wait, but who's running the HR over there? Huh.
So as time went
Emily.
on, I think we got a little pulled away from that, and we got so absorbed in our business that this year and probably for the past 12, 18 months, even in the shift and change in our business has now been, okay, we've got to like refocus again on who we are individually.
Yeah.
What's next for us personally and also professionally and as a couple. Well, getting back to planning, because we got away from planning and planned individually and didn't plan as a couple.
And what we realized was that we thought, and when we looked back and reflected over our year, that we valued family. And when we did that, we realized that family was in our second tier of core values. And although we kept telling ourselves family is part of our values, they were not after we looked back.
Right.
Other things were more important to us as they shown up, not necessarily what we truly thought we valued.
Right.
We wanted them to be up in that number one or first tier, but really reflecting back has been powerful for us that we lost sight of being super intentional and having a relationship with our goals as a couple.
Yeah.
We would look at them once a year and say, okay, well, we're good.
Right.
We're
Wait for the other one to plan for something and the other one to jump on board.
Well, we were more intentional with our business goals. That we were like, well, as a couple, it's fine. We'll do those first of the year.
Figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah. But then last year, when we look back over the course of a year, we were like, wow, that's not what we valued.
Right.
So we were not in alignment. So I think it's being intentional once a quarter, just have a more of a relationship as a couple with your goals.
Right.
Because you can set them at the beginning of the year. It doesn't mean a goal is just a goal.
Yeah.
Have to have a relationship
Yeah.
with your goals.
That's right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So to wrap this one up, what are you guys looking forward to this year outside of work?
Honestly, you're not gonna like this. I'm really looking forward to Josh's 40th birthday.
As we all are.
Yeah, and I think because for a couple of different things. One, I think he's worked so hard.
Where are we going?
That's a big thing too. It's like, and I think it's going to be something that we're going to truly plan and like make special. Yeah.
So you're looking forward to my 40th birthday. Yeah. Something I'm
Then I
not
can start
looking
calling you
forward
41. No, I'm just meaning that like that trip and experience.
40.
Yeah.
We gotta get
Outside
that
of
on.
business.
We gotta get that on the calendar.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know my birthday?
No, I
or-
mean, I do, but, like,
it's been on there for 40 years.
but the trip, like the dates, and like our
the
calendar is,
extravaganza.
like,
Oh, it's booked. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do. What about you guys looking forward to?
non-business related this year.
Yeah.
Definitely say the mission trip is.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about that.
We have a lot of good trips planned this year. Like with the kids and then just with us, and I don't know, we like to travel and just like have new experiences.
See, that too is such a plus that when you work together,
Yeah.
you can vacation together
Yeah.
and travel together.
Huge plus.
And two, you guys do a really good job with this, and I know sometimes you squirrel away from it, but being more intentional of taking more trips that aren't work related.
Yeah.
Because when we looked this year, we had planned all this stuff. We were like, oh, we planned all these events, and I said, well, when are like us trips?
Yeah.
Because we're like, no, just because we're going to this event doesn't mean we need to be away from any type of work.
And away from other people.
Yeah, you have to recharge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you truly have to spend time just as a couple.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like last year, one of our best trips was Highlands, North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, 3 hours from the house, and it was just us. But it was like, and we did some planning and stuff when we were there, but we also did nothing too. Heck, he took me there and there wasn't even TVs in the cabins or in the
40th birthday.
in the cottage house. I was like, I think they forgot to
Cottage
install our
house.
TV in here.
I brought the entertainment.
But it was great.
You always do.
With his laptop.
Wow.
We watched Drops of God on the laptop, but
You know, one thing we didn't talk about that we'll end with, I think, too, is I think it's okay, too, if when you work together and if you don't work together, it's okay as a couple to have like separate lives.
Yes.
And actually, I think it's healthy. You have
healthy.
separate friends.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you're always just being one, there's always going to be disagreements and things. I feel like you need to have different identities because working together, you can become one real easily.
I would say to that point is independence is good.
Yeah.
You know, I would definitely say that we are both independent. I love her attention and her affection, and at the same time, it's okay that she goes away to Kentucky by herself, a couple times a month, and it's okay. No, in all honesty, I miss her when she's gone dearly, and at the same time, it's okay to be independent.
Yeah, I mean, I do a girls' trip with Heather and that whole crew every year, and Adam usually he missed it this year, but goes skiing with his Go Abundance people. I mean, I think it's definitely great to have that too.
You have to have independence.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes when you work together, especially from us, we became very dependent on one another.
Right.
And like when you had to be an independent thought or make your own personal decision, it was almost a little challenging at times because you had kind of lost yourself in the mix.
Yeah.
Love that.
Great job.
Nice work.
Go team.
Before we're done, Josh, what are you looking forward to that's not work related?
Oh yeah, you didn't answer.
And I guess not your 40th birthday, but
No,
What I'm looking forward to is
you look good for 40.
a body makeover. I'm just kidding. What I'm looking forward to, honestly, is like relaunching like who Josh is, because 40 means more than just like 40. It means that I'm starting over as like who I thought I was, and selling the company and doing all these things. I have learned to not attach my identity to like what I thought my purpose was, because there's so many other important things that like if you do that, you're gonna miss really like what your true purpose is. And this year, I'm just really focused on finding and searching for like what I truly want and love to do.
Yeah.
And I'm just enjoying that process. I don't want to feel rushed about it. I don't want to feel that I have to have it done by a certain time. I want to say, let's enjoy the process of like learning who you are.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Love that. Perfect year to do that.
It really will be. So when will this be done by?
2055.
He doesn't want a commitment.
I'm putting in the work.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Keeping It Entrepreneurial. And be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. Don't forget to check out the show notes for those actionable items to stay engaged for future episodes and how to stay connected with Josh and Heath. And if you found value in today's episode, leave us a review and please share with others.